Hello. Okay, so. All right. Looks like things are working properly, so we will get started here. Welcome to the class. So today I'm basically going to be. Oops, looks like I'm got my camera set up in a weird spot. Let's move this over here. I haven't done this in about a year, so you'll have to forgive me getting kind of used to the setup again. Is that a little better? Okay. Nope, back like it was. Okay, I think that works. So, welcome to the class, everybody. Today is basically going to be me explaining how the class is going to work, what the expectations are, basically letting you know all the things you need to do in order to pass this course successfully so that hopefully we can get everybody through with some type of passing grade and then go from there. So, welcome on in, everybody. I do ask if you're in. There's a couple, as you saw, there's two different ways to consume this class as far as the live meetings. You can go on Zoom. You can also go on the YouTube stream. What you probably want to do is have one of them muted because there's a little bit of a time difference. So you don't want to have the audio up on both of them. Otherwise, it's going to sound really strange. Also, what that means, since we're streaming to YouTube, that's also there for later. So if you need to go back and double check something that was said during class, or you need to, if for whatever reason you have to miss class on a day, but you still want to see what we talked about, you can go to the channel and then watch that. So do be aware, I do have 3 classes that I'm teaching right now. One of them is fully online, so there's no videos for that class, but I am teaching an applied calculus class. So don't accidentally watch those videos on accident. So, right. So, yeah. So, and it's up to you. What'll happen is, as you can see, if you're in the Zoom meeting right now, you can just kind of see the green screen behind me. So you won't be able to see the visuals that I'm showing you in Zoom, right? But if you're watching the stream on YouTube, then you can see the stuff behind me when I show you the syllabus, and later in the semester when I'm showing you graphs and stuff like that, you'll actually be able to see all that stuff. So go to whichever one you prefer, right? Whichever way you want to consume the class is perfectly fine. I'll take roll in both of them. So as long as you're in one or the other, you'll get credit for being in class. All that kind of stuff that we'll go over today. So, some of you are just naturals at watching YouTube live streams, then do it that way. Some of you want to end up in Zoom, that's fine. Just be aware that you won't see the visuals in the Zoom meeting. What some people do, what it seems like a surprising number of people tend to do, I guess that works for students, is they visually watch the YouTube stream, but then they listen on the Zoom meeting. It's totally up to you, however you want to do it, right? They're both perfectly acceptable and will get you credit for attendance and coming to class. So whichever way you like it. So welcome to class. I'm going to show you some stuff in Canvas. I'm going to tell you about the homework. We're going to go over the syllabus and the class requirements, and we're going to do all of that kind of stuff. If there's questions today, maybe kind of hold the questions till later, because I'll probably answer a lot of your questions along the way, and then you won't have to ask them, but there will be definitely time that you can throw some questions at me and we can go over those. So if I do discuss a topic and then I move on to another topic before and you have a question about that topic that didn't get answered, go ahead and you can just throw it into chat. So try to use chat responsibly so that it's appropriate stuff for the class. But yeah, you could throw a question into chat, and then I can either address it at that time, or I can go, I'm going to wait and talk about that in a couple minutes. But you can go ahead and do it that way. Also, like I say, it's been a year since I've taught fully online classes. So if something's not working right, if the audio's not right on the YouTube stream or something's not working right in Zoom, go ahead and let me know. I did have, right before we went live, I did have a technical issue I had to fix. But luckily I got it done in time for class to start. So yeah, just let me know if something's not working right. Okay. Otherwise, we will dive into things. We meet for a little bit over an hour on Tuesday and Thursday. We meet for a little bit over an hour on Tuesday and Thursday. If you're in the Zoom meeting, then please, like, the default should be that you're muted. I have it set up at this point so that when you come into the chat, you're already muted. There'll be some times when people unmute to ask a question or something like that, and that's perfectly fine. But in general, you're going to want to be muted, just because if you're not, then, when your dog barks or your creaky door gets opened or you spill soup on your lap or whatever, it's just going to make noise and it's going to be distracting, right? So try to stay muted. But, if you and I are having a conversation in Zoom, feel free to unmute, and then we can go from there. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to take roll, just because I'm sure some people will still be coming in kind of late. But just be aware, I have to take roll. I'll go into attendance in a little bit, but it's kind of becoming a thing that I have to pay more attention to in classes than I used to, which is not really like how I like to spend class time, but it's becoming a necessity. So we'll go over that in a little bit. So, all right. So for starters, you are taking a hybrid college algebra math class at Ventura College. So hybrid means that we have that's not even actually technically hybrid. I should change that labeling. This is technically fully online. Hybrid generally means that we have on-ground class meetings. We have class meetings, but not on-ground class meetings. So I guess I should change that title. We're technically not hybrid. We're technically fully online, but we do have required Zoom/YouTube meetings. You can go to whichever one you want. I do have to take roll, and I do have to drop people who are not attending the course. So just be aware of that. Sometimes people get kind of confused. There's actually a lot of details that when you sign up for a class, if you hit the notes button, it'll tell you quite a few things about the class. But a lot of times students don't read those. It's a good idea to just read those in general. I've had a few students kind of shuffling things around the last couple days because they were confused when they signed up for the class. So always a good idea to read those notes. So when you go into Canvas, you'll see that there's an introductory module here, right? So again, if you're watching the YouTube stream, you can see what I'm talking about. If you're only in Zoom, then you'll just sort of be listening to what I'm saying. But there's the introductory module. Oh, and the for anyone who didn't see, the YouTube link is right in here where it says class meetings. So this introductory module is going to tell you all about how the class works, all the major topics. So when our class meets, you get a copy of the syllabus. How does homework work? How are the exams going to work? What if you need to contact the instructor? And then there's just a little follow-up here to make sure everyone went through the module, right? So there's a little quiz where I'm just going to ask you some questions, all of which can be answered in these previous sections right here. And then there's a getting to know each other. So I'm going to start off by starting to go through those. And explaining each piece so that you understand what you're getting into in this course. This is a fast-paced course. We normally teach this class in 18 weeks in the fall and the spring. Sometimes we have shortened versions during the semester, but in general, our classes are 18 weeks. You're taking the same class, but you're doing it in 6 weeks, which means effectively you're going to have to move at triple speed. Right, you're gonna do 3 times as much work than you're used to doing in a normal 6-week period. So, just kind of be aware of that. Summer's fast and it's intense, right? I actually just took a class this summer. I just finished up a 4-week film class, which is, film is not as hard as math is to learn new stuff. But that class moved fast. I mean, I was spending probably about 3 to 4 hours a day on that class every single day in order to keep up with the material. Summer classes move very fast, and if you get behind, it's very difficult to catch up because the new material just keeps coming. right? So just make sure that when you've signed up for this class that you sort of understand what you're getting yourself into, because we don't want, nobody wants you to have an F or a fail, some kind of failing grade on your record. You don't want that. The school doesn't want that. So just kind of be aware ahead of time. You're signing up for a class that's going to be pretty intense. This class for the next 6 weeks is going to be a major part of your day, pretty much every day, right? Sometimes you might be caught up and you can take a day or two off, but in general, you're going to be spending hours each day on this class. So just kind of be aware of that and be ready for that, so you know what you're getting into. So class meetings, looks like most people read this. So this class meets 10 a.m. to 11:15 Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the first thing to note there is that we don't meet a whole lot, right? We're meeting 2.5 hours a week for 6 weeks. That's nowhere near the amount of time that we would be meeting if we were meeting for 4 hours a week for 18 weeks, right? That's a lot of hours. We meet very few. So what you want to understand is just coming to classes is not enough, right? Like today I'm filling you in on how the class works. When we meet on Thursday, I'll cover some math material, but that's not enough for you to get through the stuff. So you want to be watching the videos that are posted in there. You want to be using all the resources of this class in order to help you get through, because you can't just watch the videos that are posted. Some people try to do that and go, oh, well, I look at all these videos that are posted, I'll just watch those. There's very important information that's given in class that you're going to need in order to be successful in the course. So attendance is really important, but also watching the posted videos and then using the resources that are inside the homework. You're going to need all of those tools in order to navigate this course successfully. And that's a lot of what I'll be pointing out today, to make sure everyone understands what's available to them so that they can be successful. So as you see, 2 different ways to consume the course. If you like sitting in YouTube streams, then you can hop on there, or you can sit in the Zoom meeting. Like I say, a lot of students, they watch the YouTube stream and then they listen on Zoom and have the YouTube stream muted. That's up to you, right? However you want to do it, whatever works best for you. But if you're sitting in Zoom going, why am I just seeing a green screen? That's because the green screen's being routed to the YouTube stream, which then is archived. So like I say, if you miss class or something, you can always go back and watch those live meetings that we have. And you're welcome to bring questions or concerns to the class meetings. Right? That's a time when you can interact with me, and you can message me at other times as well, but you can definitely bring questions to class. If it's a Thursday, you probably don't want to wait until the next Tuesday to ask me a question. You probably need it answered sooner than that. But if you have a question about how the class works, or you're confused or whatever, feel free to bring that stuff to class. I do not specifically we don't have office hours in the summer because we're hired under a different contract in the summer, and it's a different contract, so there's no office hours. But I generally will, because of the way my day is set up, I should be able to talk to students after class ends. So if once class closes down, sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 students left in Zoom, and they say, oh, I want to ask you about the exam and how to set up my appointment, or I want to ask you about this. Feel free to stick around, and I basically don't close things down until students have asked all of those questions. So definitely don't be afraid to bring a question to class and say, at the end of class, say, oh, I have a question for you, Dr. Frederick. Can we talk for a minute? Absolutely. We can talk for a minute, and I can answer those questions for you. Okay. One thing, so I talked about attendance. So so I guess it's appropriate to bring up now because we're talking about class meetings. So teaching has changed a lot in the last 4 years or so, 3-4 years. As many of you know, you wouldn't have been taking this class online 3 or 4 years ago. That's very different. And us teachers, professors, we are learning how to become teachers in this new era, and students are learning how to become students in the new era, right? We're all kind of adjusting, and I think there's going to be adjustments for a few more years. One thing we saw in the last year with our classes, and especially in the spring, was that attendance was just plummeting. right? And I checked around. We saw this across the board in the math department where our attendance to class meetings was really not good, which does a few things, right? It lowers the success rate in a class. When students stop attending, generally those students don't pass the class. And it's kind of an issue. And then actually we get graded on it, right? I'm actually up for evaluation in the fall. Even once we have tenure, we get evaluated every few years. I'm up for evaluation in the fall, and one of the things they're going to be looking for is, are you getting people to come to class? So many of us professors are having to make adjustments to things to make sure that students are going to show up. So one of the things, I don't really like teaching from a super authoritarian standpoint, but I have to make an adjustment to make sure that students are actually showing up to class. And so, there's kind of a carrot and stick here. The carrot is when you show up to class, your grade's going to be better and you're probably going to pass the class. If you don't show up to class, you're going to get a failing grade. But then also I have to sort of have a little bit of a stick here to get students to come to class. So I'm going to have to watch the attendance a lot more closely and follow the school's policy for dropping students who are not attending. Okay, so the main thing to be concerned about, or not, you don't have to be concerned as long as you're coming to class, but the school policy says that when a student's absence exceeds 1/9 of the total class for the contact hours, for us, that's these scheduled meetings. Once you've missed 1/9 of the class, we can drop you. So 1/9 of the class is a little less than two classes. So that means technically, if you miss 2 classes, I can drop you. That seems a bit severe because I already have people today that have a doctor's appointment and, stuff happens, right? All of a sudden your kids have to go to the doctor or emergency room or something like that. But what I am going to do at 2, 3, not 2, but like 3 absences, I'll start paying attention. Might get dropped at 3 absences, 4 absences, probably going to get dropped from the class. So if you have to miss a class, please let me know. Like I say, I've already had some people telling me like, oh, I have to go to the doctor this morning or whatever. So at least I have that on record. And as long as you're not collecting a lot of those, then that's probably okay. 1 or 2 absences. It's going to make it a lot harder for you to progress in the course, but you'll just have to make that stuff up. But once students start having 3, 4 absences in this class, I'll be looking to drop those students. So please attend class. I don't really want to drop anyone. Like I say, normally that's not even a thing I do. I don't drop students. It's up to you whether you want to be in the class or not. But like I say, part of my job as a professor is to make decisions that are going to lead to the highest pass rate. So the most number of students are passing. And so unfortunately, that means I'm going to have to pay attention to this and drop students who aren't showing up. So basically come to class. And as you'll see here in a little bit, I'll take roll in one form. I think there was a question here. So the question is, absences are part of the grade, correct? So there's a bit of a workaround with that. We're technically not allowed to give you a grade based on attendance. So what we do, what the school policy is that I will do something in class for you to participate in, maybe give you a math problem or ask you a question or something like that, and then I can give you points for your response. So the part of the grade that is tied to attendance has to do with you responding to questions I do in class. So you'll notice I'll ask a question at sometimes I have to take actual attendance, but the part that actually goes into your grade, that I think it's 20%, I have to double check. That has to do with, do you respond when I'm asking questions in class? But effectively, that's going to go, it's in essence getting grades for showing up. But that's not really what it is. It's because you're participating in class. You're showing up and participating. That's what you actually get the points for. Okay. But the reality is, if you're not showing up to class, then you're going to get dropped, and then you won't be able to show up and participate anyways. So, like I say, I don't really like policing that kind of stuff, but I'm sort of in a position where I have to. So basically, the bottom line is show up to class, okay? And if you have a legitimate reason why you can't, just send me a message, and then I'll have a record of it. Hopefully, it's one thing if someone misses for one medical reason, but if you're missing 3, 4, 5 classes for medical reasons, then there's probably a bigger issue going on, and you probably should take the class a different time, right? So we've got the syllabus here. So the syllabus is posted. The syllabus is in a PDF form, so you can bring it up. So please, before you message me, just double check if your question can be answered in the syllabus or the introductory Canvas page, right? Because I've tried to put most of the information in there that you'll need. So check there first. And then by all means, if you still have a question that isn't answered, feel free to message me. And we can look into whatever your question is. So I'll just go through the syllabus here shortly. So we've got, this is the syllabus for Math V04 College Algebra, Summer 2023. Oh, one thing I want to make clear, we've made some efforts to make sure this is posted in a few different places so people understand. The state is making a number of changes into how the community college math and English departments function. And they're doing this every couple of years. They roll out a new set of laws. And one of the laws that's being rolled out right now is that college algebra can no longer be a prerequisite for applied calculus. So students who wanted to take applied calculus traditionally would take this class first and then sign up for applied calculus. We are currently transitioning to that new situation. So you do not have to take college algebra as a prerequisite for applied calculus anymore. You can go directly into applied calculus. Now, we'll figure out in a few years if that was a good idea or not by seeing how that affects our pass rates for applied calculus. But it's a change that it's literally state law. So we have to go to that. If you are uncomfortable and you think, well, I need to know how to factor and do all that kind of stuff, then you are welcome to take this class. But we are not allowed to require this as a prerequisite anymore. So if you're a student who your next step is to take it's Math V46, which is applied calculus, then it's up to you whether you want to take this class or not. That's your choice. But you can place yourself directly into Math V46. They're still working on some of the details, so if the system doesn't let you, you can just talk to a counselor on campus and they'll let you into the class. In fact, I teach that class in the afternoon, and I think there's still a couple openings. So depends on how, what your route is, how you want to take it. So that's some prerequisite information. So the course is called College Algebra. I'm the instructor, Dr. Frederick. So I grew up in Northern California. Just brief intro for me. I grew up in Northern California, got my bachelor's in math at Sacramento State, went to Colorado, got my PhD in math at Colorado State, and then ended up in Washington for a few years. And then, so I started Ventura College in 2013. So this is year, 10? Finishing up year 10, I guess. So, right. So that's just a quick intro on me. I've taught this class a ton of times in the last 10 years. I mean, I've been teaching it for like 16 or 17 years, but in the last 10 years, this is one of the classes that I teach pretty regularly. So I think I've got it pretty streamlined, although I am making some changes right now. I've changed over to a new homework platform because the Pearson My Math Lab software that many of us use in the math department is just a mess, and I was tired of dealing with bugs where students were struggling because the program wasn't working properly. So I'm trying a new program. So if you have any issues, like it worked pretty well last semester, but if you have any issues with the homework platform, let me know. Just contact me, because I kind of need to know, is this new system working for students? The old system definitely was not working well for most students, for many students. So if there's any hiccups or anything with the homework system, just let me know, and I can either point stuff out to you or change a setting or something like that. It's entirely possible I'll have some settings wrong here and there. I went through and tried to get everything as prepped as I could, but when you're using a new platform, you're still learning things for the first few semesters. So my office is 346 on the Ventura College campus in the Science Building. but that won't really help you much because I won't really be there much this summer because all my classes are online. So, but just in case you need to know, that's where my office is located. My email address is there, but it's much better for you to message me through the Canvas messaging system. That is definitely to your advantage. So it's much preferred that you message me that way. So in fact, let me see. Let me move this a second and do this. Let me show you. So see in Canvas over here, there's like the messaging right over here. So the inbox, that's the best way to get a hold of me. Okay, not through email. You are welcome to send me an email if you want, but it's much better to message me over on the left side of Canvas, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So if it's one of these icons over here, the little inbox, it's in your best interest to message me that way. Here's why. Email is basically broken. It's an absolute mess. Even before I became department chair, we get so much email from publishers and stuff from the college. I mean, it's not unusual for us to get 20, 30 emails a day. And I'm actually the incoming department chair for the math department. So that means I'm now, on some days, I might get 70 emails in a day, right? And a lot of it's like junk. So if you email me and I get 70 emails that day, it's very easy for me to miss your email because maybe it looks like some spam or some other stuff that I'm getting. A lot of times students don't put a title in an email, so it doesn't stand out that it's a student email. So our priority at the college is helping students, right? Because if we're not helping students, then what are we really doing, right? So the first place that I look when I'm looking to see if students need help is I come to the Canvas inbox because I know those are all students. Anyone who emails me in the Canvas inbox is a student that is enrolled in one of my classes, which is the number one priority, right? So if you message me through the Canvas inbox, then that's the first thing I check every day. What are my students that need help? Can I get the student's question answered so that they can move along and get back to progressing through the course? Right. So otherwise, it's not infrequent that a student will email me. Sometimes their email even automatically ends up in the trash box. So I never even see it. It's just I'll look and then I'll go, oh, some student tried to get a hold of me 6 weeks ago, but I never even saw this email because it went right to the trash box. Right. The trash folder. If you message me through Canvas, all those problems don't exist. So it's very easy to do. You just click that icon in Canvas, and then I'll be one of the drop downs. It'll say, like, I forget what it says for students, but it'll basically have me in there. You can send me a message. Some students are already doing that, which is great, with different questions I've had in the last couple days. And then I can answer your question and move forward. You can email me, but that's sort of the second best way to do it, right? Right. So what do we have? Okay, so then we have some stuff that we have to put into the syllabus that we're just required to put in there, but doesn't really make a lot of sense to you as the student right now. If you knew what all this stuff meant here, the course objectives and the student learning outcomes, if you knew what all those were, you wouldn't have to take this class, right? Because you'd know what all that stuff was already talking about. So for now, at least, you can ignore a lot of these course objectives and stuff like that that's in the syllabus. This goes back to when another transition we're having, since some of you will probably want, I've been answering emails where students say, oh, can you send me the syllabus for the course because the school that I go to wants to double check that it'll count. Some students are using this for another college. We don't actually give out the syllabus anymore. We give out what's called the course outline of record, which is actually more detailed, gives you more information. So if you need that, let me know and I'll send you the course outline of record. Your grades. So we follow a traditional A, B, C, D, F grading system where it's 90, 80, 70, 60, just like most of, pretty traditional. 40% is homework, 40% is exams, and 20% is class participation. So you really need to do all of those. sometimes people try to get by without doing the homework, but I can tell you, as the person who has seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students go through college algebra, like almost all math classes, or really all math classes, students who don't do the homework don't pass. And it's not just because we drop them or give them an F or whatever. It's because students who don't do the homework fail the exams. So then you have a bad homework grade, then you also have a bad exam grade. And that pretty much means you're not going to pass the class, right? So do the homework, stay on top of the assignments, watch your due dates. There's work both in Canvas. There's some work in Canvas, but most of the work is going to happen in the XYZ homework, which I'll show you in just a second. Make sure you're doing that. We'll talk about exams in a second. Oh, do I not have an exam category written in here? I'll tell you about exams in just a second. That's 40% of your grade. And then the class participation, if you don't do that, it probably means you're not showing up to class, which means you're going to get dropped anyways. So just make sure you're paying attention to those three things, and you should be fine, right? As long as you're coming in here and your attitude is, yep, I'm going to do all this work and I'm going to get a good grade in the class, then, you should end up passing. If you're coming in here with the mindset of what's the least amount of work I can do to hit 70.0%, that's usually the kind of attitude that leads to getting failing grades, right? So don't do that. And usually if someone's close on a grade, like if there's a borderline grade and I'm trying to decide, oh, this is right on the edge, should I go up or down? Usually what I do is look at the homework. And if someone's really put in the effort, their homework is up in the 90s, okay, maybe they deserve to get bumped up to the higher grade. I mean, if it's real close. But if someone hasn't really done the coursework, they haven't really done the homework, well then why should you get bumped up to the next grade, right? So make sure you're doing the homework, make sure you're participating, and usually students do fine. It's just a matter of doing the effort. I know many of you are scared about the math. Some of you may not have taken math for a while. That's okay, right? If you put in the effort, you should be fine. It is very fast in the summer, but as long as you give yourself enough time and you're willing to do the work, students tend to be pretty successful. So, and we'll go over all the things you can do in order to be successful in this course, but it really comes down to that mindset. Do I have the mindset that I'm going to do all the work I can to be successful? Then you probably be fine. Okay. And then just notice here there's an and to the grades. And to earn a grade or C or above, students must maintain 70% grades in each category of homework and participation. Again, that's just because a lot of students kind of think like, well, I took algebra before, so I don't really have to do the homework. But those students end up failing tests anyways, so they just end up failing the class. So this is really just to make sure you understand, like, yes, you need to do the homework in order to be successful in this class. Okay, consider it as required. Before I forget, one thing I want to talk about is the tutoring center. There is a tutoring center on campus. It is totally free for you to use. They do, I believe, have tutors in person right now. I think they might still be doing Zoom meetings. I don't know. They're kind of changing that each semester. I don't know if you still can get help remotely from the tutoring center, but there are people sitting in a room right now on campus who are paid to sit there and wait for you to come in, and they will help you. So, you could take your laptop in there, work on problems, and then when you're stuck, raise your hand, someone comes over and helps you. So totally free. You've basically already paid for the tutoring center to be there. So, someone's telling me, let's see, let's take a look. They have both at the moment, at least as recently as last week. Okay, thanks, Dakota. That's great. So it looks like, if you just can't make it onto campus, looks like maybe you can set up a Zoom meeting with them. So I highly recommend that. We get reports each semester at the end of the semester as far as because when you go to the tutoring center, you're supposed to just sign in. You don't have to pay anything, but you just put your student number in there. And they do that to track hours, because at the end of the year, they say like, well, we need more funding because we're helping more students and that kind of stuff. But they send us a report of our students, and basically by just looking at the hours that people spend in the tutoring center, I can basically predict their grade just from that. Students who spend lots of time getting help from the tutors tend to get A's in the class. Students who don't tend to get lower grades. So that, doing your homework is probably the biggest indicator of how you're going to do in the class. But right there with it is, do you spend time in the tutoring center? I have some students who will spend an hour a week, in a normal semester, an hour a week in the tutoring center. I have some students who spend an hour a day in the tutoring center. And you can look, it's just a kind of a rising curve. The more hours spent with tutors, the better grade students get. So highly recommend that. Also, you're free to form your own study groups. I've kind of left that open. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but in the introductory discussion, one of the things that you can talk about is, are you interested in forming either an online or an in-person study group with people? And that's set up so you can do that. You can go in there, and if you see 4 other people that seem like nice people that you would want to work with, form a study group with them. That is an excellent way to get through the class, because usually if people are working on this stuff as they're on their own and they're prepared and they're doing that, getting together in a group can really help solidify that stuff a little bit. So your understanding will just go up a little bit more, because probably someone in the group will be able to work through almost every problem, or working with someone else, the 2 of you work through it, or 4 of you, whatever, are able to get through it. So that's another thing that is generally helpful. Not all my classes form study groups, but when I do see a group of students form a study group, those students almost always do very, very well in the class. So because they're just totally prepared when they come to class. So that's a thing that is you can look out for as well. If you want to form either an online study group or in person, feel free to do that. Homework. So homework, you will have some assignments inside of Canvas, like there's some Canvas quizzes and some Canvas discussions that you're supposed to talk about a little bit, but most of the work will happen in what's called XYZ homework, and there's directions on how to sign up for that. So let me come out of this for a minute, and we'll go to, and let me just turn off that little notification keeps going off here. Let me silence that. So where are we? We've got syllabus. Homework. So I can see as of this morning, I think there were, let's see, I actually have 2 college algebra classes this summer, and I had 18 students in there. So I don't know, 9 from each class or something like that maybe. But basically just follow these directions. So there's a link here for the homework site. You're going to click the student. So in fact, let's just walk through it. So, it's probably got me logged in already, maybe. Okay, good. So you come here and see it's going to say student sign up. So you're going to click the student sign up. I'm not going to click it because I don't want it to remember me as a student or whatever. But so you set up your account. Make sure you write down your credentials or whatever so you can log back in later. Here's your course ID right here. So that's how it's going to know you're in college algebra, my college algebra class. So it's going to ask you for this at some point, and then you're enrolled in the class. Now, everybody gets to use the course for 2 weeks for free. So that means that no matter what's going on in your life, you can sign up for this today. It's not, oh, I didn't get to the bookstore yet, or, oh, I don't have the money right now. You don't have to worry about those things. You can just get in and start using the course today, right? In the old days, they didn't do that, and it was such a pain for students that didn't have their money. Then they had to wait 2 weeks. Like, it wasn't good, right? But now they let you start these courses for free, and that gives you a period of time to get your license together so that then you can complete the course, okay? So you'll enter this course ID. It'll put you in there. Now, here's the great news about this class. The college, Ventura College, pays for your homework license for you. Okay, basically you'll go to the bookstore and the bookstore will give you the license, and then the bookstore just charges the school for it. So you do not have to pay. You get a free license in order to use this. All right, so because when you sign up, it will let you pay right on the site, but don't do that because you can get it for free through the bookstore. So go to the bookstore. They just need some kind of proof you're in the class. So usually, like if you just show them your Canvas, they say, okay, and then they'll give you the license. And then you'll just enter a code basically inside of the XYZ homework. So again, you can start your homework now without that code, but at some point in the next couple weeks, you're going to need to get that code, or it's going to cut you off after 15 days, after the 15-day free trial is up. So that gives you a little bit of time though, right? So just figure out when you can go to the bookstore, go in, get your code. One of the best things you can do as a student is not procrastinate, right? There was some research that came out a few years ago that actually said like all of human civilization, like we could be much further ahead, but people procrastinate so much. So that's kind of true personally, right? And definitely as a student, the more you procrastinate on things, sometimes bad things can happen. Like the bookstore might accidentally run out of codes, right? This has happened in previous semester. They're streamlining the system, so it's getting better. But we have had where students go in and go, oh, they're out of codes. I have to check back next week. So I highly recommend that you go soon. That way you don't have any risk of them running out of codes, right? If you wait until the day before your free trial is up, and then you try to go get your code and they go, oh, sorry, we ran out. Come back in 5 days. Well, now you're not able to do homework for 5 days, and that's bad, right? So I recommend that you just sort of take care of this right away, and then you should be fine, okay? Is there any questions about the homework? No, everyone's clear on that? Okay. I just want to make sure, because sometimes in these classes, when we do it this way, students will think they're just supposed to do what's in Canvas, and then, well into the semester, they go, oh, there's another set of homework? Yes. So make sure that you understand you have to get this XYZ homework set up. And then all the due dates and everything are in there. In fact, they have a nice calendar set up. So, you'll know when everything's due, so you can work accordingly. And it's going to look like stuff's due a lot, like really quickly, because it is. This class moves so fast. So you'll want to get on top of that. Yeah, there's a question here. I'm not sure how to say that name. I'm probably saying it incorrectly, but the question is, should it say XYZ Narasimhan College Algebra? Yeah, so that's the author's name. So the person who wrote the text that is part of the course, that's their name. So basically they wrote the book, right? So if you're wondering why it doesn't say Frederick on there, it's because that's the author for the homework that you're going to be working on. Yeah. So what you see in chat there is correct. So it'll say that, and then, let's close that one. I think this one should be good. Show you that in a minute. So this is like your calendar. So you'll see you've got stuff due on certain dates. This is what it looks like when you get inside the XYZ homework. There's some introductory stuff. I recommend that you definitely look through that. So it's about how to use the ebook, you can see right here, and then intro to XYZ homework. So there's just a few little things you want to understand. Like there's a thing called late passes. So once the homework closes, you can't work on it anymore, but you have been in this class awarded some what are called late passes, which you can use to work on homework. It basically allows you a certain period of time to work on homework that's passed. So if you're well past the homework, you might need to use 2 late passes to work on a homework. I've tried to extend those times so that it's not too bad, but again, don't get behind in the class. Like that'll help you if you maybe are behind 1 or 2 assignments, but if you get behind more than that, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to catch up. So don't get behind, but this will tell you how to do that. And then there's just answer entry guide. So it's just telling you how to use the website. Sometimes when you're trying to enter math into a answer box, people get confused about how to do it. So these early ones kind of show you how it works. And then we've got the chapters that we'll be working on. So there's, chapters. The R is like review, but then we've got chapter 1 through chapter 7. The later chapters have a few less sections, so it might seem a little intimidating, but you'll notice like chapter 6 only has 3 sections in it. I think chapter 7 has 3 in it as well. Yeah, only 3 in here. And we're not to those yet anyways. But the earlier chapters have more to them, right? As you can see, this one has 5, looks like. So there's a little bit more, but you're basically just going to go through, try to do these assignments, get them completed before the due date, and then go from there. Let me show you a couple things, because sometimes, you know, most of us, when we're used to looking at things that are on the internet, we automatically ignore certain things, be like usually where the ads go. Our brain just is trained to ignore the spots where ads go. So sometimes students will miss something that is actually really important. So let me just show you a few things. So I'll click 1.3. I'll use the teacher preview here to go in here. And then it's giving me some problems to work on. But notice there's some help down here. This is really helpful to you. So notice there's a video, there's the ebook, and there's a written example. So you can use all 3 of those to help you. And that's targeted toward this particular problem, right? So let's say we wanted to watch a video. Okay, so I'm going to click video, and now it's going to play a little video. So she's going to help us through the problem. I'm just going to mute her so we don't listen to it, but see how she's working through it. And if you don't like her, you don't want to watch her video, it gives you the option. You can watch this guy Aaron do it. So you know, I'll mute him. So whatever. Some people prefer Betsy. Some people prefer Aaron. It doesn't really matter. They're doing the same problem, right? And they're basically giving the same explanation, so it doesn't really make a difference. But 2 different people explaining it. And then they also have one in Spanish. So if you want to watch the problems in Spanish, you can do that. Right? So you have a number of different ways where you can, for every particular problem, you can watch that video and be guided through how to do that particular thing, right? So that's in addition to the videos that are posted inside of Canvas, but that's pretty helpful. If there's one problem that you just don't get, watch the video for it and it can be helpful. There's also the ebook link, so it's going to take you to that part of the book. So this part of, you know, this is the author that wrote the ebook. This is their book. So it'll take you to the part of the book that's relevant, and then you can look around and try to find the, you know, how to do the problem that you're working on. And then there is, what was the last part? Oh, right, a written example. So you click that, and then they have a worked out example. So you've got the video, the written out example, and the ebook itself. Those are all available to you for each particular problem that you're working on. So that's pretty helpful that help is really targeted to that specific problem. So just be aware that those are there. Some students don't realize there's a video there that can help them through a particular problem. And then try to get these problems right before the due date is basically the goal, right? Try to get that taken care of. I think I changed around some settings, so I have to remember how I have it set. But I think if you use a late pass, I think I have it set so that there's a penalty. So just be aware. You definitely want to try to get the homework done on time so that you're not getting that late penalty, right? It's always better to get 100% for your work than a lower percent for your work, of course. Let's see. So if we go to the course, and everyone I think at this point has 20 late passes, but try not, like I say, try not to use them. But they're there as a safety net in case you need it a bit to work on. And then there's the grade book. Right. Okay, so let's, what does it say here? What do we got? A question? Will we be marked down points if our homework is wrong? Oh, yeah, so that's a great question. So basically, it's going to tell you right away if the homework problem is wrong. But the great news is you can keep doing different versions of the problem until you get it right. So that's why really your homework, if you're serious in this class, your homework grade should be somewhere in the 90s. Because even if you get a homework problem wrong, you can keep working on it till you get it correct. So usually the students that are taking the class pretty seriously, the homework is somewhere up like 93 to 98% in there. Every once in a while, a student will get like 100% on the homework. They'll get every single point for the whole semester. But the students that are taking the class seriously, usually up in the 90s because it doesn't lock you out and say, oh, you got that one wrong. It wants you to keep working on it, and we want you to keep working on it till you figure out how to do it the correct way. So that Canvas doesn't work that way. The stuff you do in Canvas is kind of, you're going to submit it and then it's done. But on the XYZ homework, you can keep working on it until it's completed, until you have credit for it. So it's really just how interested are you in getting a good grade, right, and learning the material. Any other questions about the homework while we're looking at it? No? Okay. If you have a question, feel free to throw it into chat, and then I can look at it when we're done. I think that's everything I wanted to say. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to... Oh, also, I'll just show you now. There's this website called Desmos, DESMOS, and it's a great graphing tool. You're going to be using graphs a lot. It's a really nice way to make graphs really easily. So you just hit this part where it says graph. It's free, totally free. You don't even have to sign up for it. So you go to desmos.com, hit the graphing calculator, and then you're just ready to start graphing. So we could do things like x squared plus y squared equals 9. See how easily we just made a circle there? That's a lot. That's even if you're using a TI-84, what I just did will probably take you 3 or 4 minutes, because you have to put it in function form and do all this different stuff. So this class involves a lot of graphing. This is a really helpful graphing tool. You'll see me use Desmos in some of the videos where I'm explaining things about graphs. You'll see me working in Desmos. But it's a tool that you can use for free. You don't even need, like I say, you don't even need to sign up. You just come in here and start graphing things, and that can be really helpful for you. Let's see. Okay, so there's homework. Okay, exams. So hopefully this is not a surprise to anyone at this point, but this class has required exams that you have to take in the testing center. So I know that's kind of a bummer because you're taking an online class and you didn't want to have to show up in person. But we in the math department are trying to combat what we've seen in the last few years, which is basically students cheating online in stuff. And it's not fair to the people who are actually doing the work. It's also not fair that a student can get through a class just by using a website to give them the answers. So one of the ways we're combating that is that you will take 2 tests in the testing center. That was posted in the notes. Kind of. So there's a question there I'll answer in just a second. It was posted in the notes. So if you go to the class and you click it in the class notes, it says a few things. It says this requires use of a free online homework platform, which we just talked about, as well as having tests administered on campus in weeks 3 and 6. So it was in here. I know a lot of students don't click that, but it was in here when you signed up, or at least you were notified about it. And then we put that note in like a week late after the courses went up. But 90% of you, when you signed up, this was in here, and you know today. So you just know that. Plus, we sent out a message, or I sent out a message a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, or I don't remember when it was. So just letting you know that. So just so you know, we're not changing the game on you late here. Those notes were posted in there. So, and again, it's because it just isn't right when you have some people working hard and they're getting B's in a class, and then some people are cheating and getting A's. It's not a good system all around. So we're trying to find ways, especially for these STEM track classes that are, this class is kind of in our STEM track, where we're trying to make sure people actually have to learn the material. So you'll have tests in week 3 and 6. So you can take them early if you want, but I kind of don't recommend that you take them early, because then you will maybe not have done all of the coursework for that test, and then that can be, you won't be prepared for that problem. So there's a question in here. Someone asked, I just want to specify, someone asked, okay, so there's 2 questions. Oh, this question's about the homework. Okay, I'll come back to that in just a second. So let's see, where am I? Oh, right here. So you will take an exam. It's the week of 4th of July. So hopefully you can make that work. Like I say, you could take it early if you want, but that's going to maybe make it harder for you to do well on the test. So the week from July 3rd to July 7th, you'll take the first exam. And the exam from July 24th to July 28th, you'll take the final exam. The first exam you take will actually be multiple choice. Don't let that fool you into thinking that means it's easy. It's not an easy test. But the first one will be multiple choice. The second one, you will have to write out fully all your answers and do all that kind of stuff. Okay. And here's a link for the testing center. So we click that and it opens up here. So this is what the testing center looks like on campus. It's off of Loma Vista, so it's kind of on what most people consider the backside of the college. And it's kind of hard to see. It's in a kind of a smaller parking lot. And it does say testing center on the outside. And then there's their hours. That we got expanded hours for the summer, so that's great. That means they're open every day, like a lot. So you can get in there most days. You can contact them, set things up. There's a student guide for testing. So the thing is, it's by appointment, right? So we saw this last semester because there's been a huge increase in teachers using the testing center. It's like exploded. I used to be like the #1 user. Now I'm like number 5 of having my students go to the testing center. There's just massive numbers of teachers sending students over there, which means it is possible they will run out of appointments. So you don't want to be one of the students who doesn't get an appointment. Right? So it's kind of like the procrastination I mentioned earlier. You should set up those appointments now. Get your appointment set so that you're all good to go. And then there's no problem later when the proctor in there says, sorry, we're full on those days that you can come. You don't want to be in that position, right? Because that could lead to you getting maybe a 0 on your test. So please set up those appointments now. I know I have some students who have already contacted me who have already started that process of setting up their appointments. That's great because those students will be able to take the test. That's totally great. So, so don't wait on that, right? Don't wait around to set that up. You do have to bring a photo ID because they don't know, you just have to ID, right? Otherwise, people send their sister who's an engineer to go take the test for them or something like that. So bring a photo ID. You can bring, I think this was asked, but you can bring your TI-84 calculator to the test. You can bring a calculator if you're used to using that. I would recommend that you bring a calculator, some kind of graphing calculator. Can we bring a TI calculator to the test? Yeah, you can bring your TI in there and use it. That's fine. I sent the tests in the other day, and I put on there that you can use your calculator. So they should allow that. And then, so you have to have so the step 1 is get your appointment set up. Step 2 is make sure you have your photo ID. And then step 3 is, remember to bring a calculator as well. So how do you set it up? So there's, they've been changing the system here a little bit. I think you still do it. There's this, over here, it says student guide for testing. And I think if you just sort of walk through that, and then there's a student request form now. They didn't used to have the student request form, but you just fill it out. So basically you're going to go over on the right here, on the right side. It's got your student guide for testing, read that. And then it's got the student request form where you're trying to set up your stuff. He says, Quali's asking, you can't it's pretty difficult if you send them the thing and say, can I have an appointment in an hour from now? That's probably not enough time to get it set up. So they ask you to set it up at least 2 working days ahead of time. But I suspect in week 3 and especially in week 6, if you wait until 2 days ahead of time, you're probably not getting an appointment, right? It's kind of a new world we're seeing, but I know there were problems in the spring that just finished where in finals week, there was not there just wasn't enough time for everyone. They didn't have enough appointment times for everybody. So make your appointments in the near term. Get those taken care of. Let's see. Are we allowed a cheat sheet for the exam for formulas? No, you shouldn't really need it. If you know how to do the problems, you'll be able to do them on the test. There's not really like a bunch of formulas necessarily that you use. It's just, do you know how to, it's not like a chemistry class where there's going to be a ton of formulas or something. It's really just, do you know the process for completing the problem? So there's no cheat sheet or anything like that. So you have to make sure that you you can do those. But like I say, don't procrastinate on this one. Get those set up as soon as you can. So you'll need to make an appointment. Now's a good time to do that. So the last day of this course is 7/28, or at least that's the last day that the testing center is open. So if you haven't taken that last test by 7/28, it will become a 0. So again, don't put yourself in that position. Make sure you have an appointment. You can take it early if you need to, but not really recommended. Okay. Right. Instructor contact. I think I already talked about that. Best way to get a hold of me is Canvas messaging. Now, Monday through Thursday, I will try to check these and I will try to get back to you within 24 hours. I can't guarantee it, but I know we move so fast in the summer. I will try to get back to you pretty regularly. Over the summer, I have different things going on the weekend where I won't even be able to check. I won't even have internet access necessarily on the weekend, certain weekends. So if you message me like on a Friday, I may get back to you on Monday. Okay. And remember, there's always the tutoring center on campus. The tutoring center is in the LRC building. It's like our tall building in the middle of campus. It's on the first floor. It's kind of behind the stairs. Some students miss it because the entrance is behind the stairs. But that tutoring center, super helpful. Go there, get help. And they can help you out. Okay, and then you've got your class introduction quiz. So let's go back to the syllabus, since I talked about a bunch of other stuff. Okay, where were we? Yep, so we talked about homework, participation, do that stuff. Behavior. So basically, as far as behavior, make sure you're showing up to class, because if you're not showing up to class, you will get dropped. And then also, just be adults and be good adults, right? Be good people. We've had some kind of weird incidences with sometimes people doing weird stuff. Just don't be weird or inappropriate or anything like that. The school has policies about how people should be treating each other, and, just be a good person, basically, right? Be respectful for people in the class. There's no reason not to. Right? You all have the same goal, which is to complete this class successfully. So don't say rude things in the discussions, or be rude to people or mean or just be a good person. No cheating, obviously. Important dates. So the stuff happens fast. Is that right? W is the 26th. No, that's a typo. I'll have to fix that. The 21st, tomorrow, is the last. Is this the right syllabus? Somehow a typo slipped through. Tomorrow is the last day to drop this class without getting a W. So everything happens so fast in the summer. In fact, census is tomorrow, which means I have to drop the first round of people tomorrow. That's school policy. So I don't know how I hit, and somehow I missed that. And then July, both of these are wrong. June 21st is the deadline to drop without a W, and July 18th is the last date to drop with a W, meaning if you're in this class tomorrow, you're getting either a letter grade or a W. If you're in this class after July 18th, you're just getting a letter grade at that point. So you just want to be aware when those dates are, and just to specify, this is really June 21st and this is July 18th. In order to drop the class, if you can tell it's not working out, it's probably better usually to get a W than an F. But it's up to you how you want to do that. There's the ADA statement. So if that applies to you, then I would look into that. If it doesn't apply to you, then don't worry about it. So there's the syllabus. Okay. And speaking of people being here, so I'm going to go through and try to take roll here, which is a little, okay, so looks like I've missed a message from I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. Gothlate. I'm not sure how to say that, so I apologize. Feel free to message me in Canvas. I'm not sure if I completely understand your question, but feel free to get a hold of me one way or another. And I can help you with your question there. But I have to try to take roll here. So the way this works best, like if you notice, if you're in Zoom, then some of you just have your first name, so I won't necessarily know who that is. So if only your first name is showing in Zoom, then if you could in chat write your first name. I guess if you're on Zoom, then you could just write your full name so that I can double check that you're here. If you're on YouTube only, then just in chat, just write your first name and the first letter of your last name. You don't have to write your whole name since that one's public. The YouTube is public for everyone. So you can just write your first name followed by your first letter of your last name. But that's only for the people that are only in YouTube. Otherwise, I have to go through and try to see who's here. And try to get everyone. So give me a moment to do that. Okay.
I'm sorry, you said only type in the name if you're on the YouTube stream?
If you're only on the YouTube stream, so if you're not in Zoom, like if you're in Zoom, it's private, so putting your name there is not a big deal. But if you're like on the YouTube stream, you might not want to put your full name over there. So then you could just put your first name followed by the first letter of your last name. So like for me, if I was on YouTube, I'd write Topher F instead of writing Topher Frederick for the whole thing. It's just in case you want your privacy protected. Oh, and someone's asking about the homework. Yeah, the due dates are in there in XYZ homework. So much of the homework is due before the 26th. So you'll see the due dates when you sign up for the homework. Let's see, what do we have over here? Okay, so you'll have to pardon me if I missed anyone, but the names that I'm missing right now would be Eric C., Daniel DT, Dakota G, Breeze G, Moises PG, Charles V, and Alex V. So if I missed any of those, let me know. If any of you are here in the class. Okay, Dakota G is here. Okay, great. Is there anyone else that of those names that I called? So I got you, Dakota G. If there's anyone else I missed, let me know. Because like I say, it's census tomorrow. So I'm required to do my first round of drops tomorrow. That's one we have to do, no matter what. Okay, Daniel's here. Daniel, what was your last name? Oh, got it. Okay. Great. Thanks, Daniel. Anyone else? So everyone's accounted for. Okay, well, that timing's about perfect because I think we're almost out of time. So with that said, we got a few more minutes. I still got some stuff to talk about here. If I missed anyone else, just talk to me after class, and we'll make sure you get added. Okay, so there's the syllabus. There's the homework, so make sure you get that set up. And to the questions that were asked, if we need help on a problem, can we contact you through Canvas? Correct. Oh, yeah. So contacting me is good. Also, if you're able to use screenshots, that's really helpful. Like I got a question this morning in my other class about part of Canvas, but I couldn't figure out what part of Canvas they were talking about. You know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you send me a message and you can send me like a screenshot, that's super helpful. So if it's trying to figure out what part of Canvas and you're confused, send me a screenshot. If it's a homework problem, send me that. Sometimes students will say, you know, oh, I'm having trouble with the homework assignment on factoring. Well, that doesn't really give me much to help you with. But if you can screenshot or be very detailed about what your problem is, then I'm probably going to be able to fix it faster for you. Yeah. So we've got homework, exams, covered all that, instructor contact. You've got your quiz. Make sure you take that. Like it says June 22nd. So you don't have a ton of time. You got a couple days to do that. Make sure you get that done. And then there's a discussion here. You can see some people have already started it. So there's a discussion here basically about just introducing yourself a little bit. Just tell a little bit about yourself. You don't have to say anything that makes you uncomfortable, anything like that. But try to give us some stuff, hobbies, interests, anything like that about who you are. And then part of the question here is about setting up, are you interested in setting up an online study group or an in-person study group? And then that's up to you. I don't set those up. It's up to you if you actually want to read those posts and set up a discussion group with some different people. And then it's totally up to you. If you don't want to give people, how you guys meet is totally up to you. If you're not comfortable giving out your email or your phone number, that's totally up for you to decide. Right? No one can decide that for you. That's up to you how you want to do that. But you'll want to go in there and at least leave the post. Whoops, it's going to make me go. I don't want to expose everyone's stuff there. Getting to know each other. Oh, and then there's just a bunch of extra links here. So there's a whole bunch of resources on campus for all sorts of stuff, counseling to, so we have some students that are homeless and or houseless, and there's all sorts of resources on campus for different students. So if you're interested in seeing how what does the school have that might help you in some way, you're free to look through that. And then once you get through that, there's a little I put some optional sections in here if you need some review, if you haven't taken math for a while. Like, we don't learn factoring in this class, but you're going to need to factor in order to pass the class. So if you're in that spot and you don't remember factoring, come here, do factoring polynomials. So you'll work through that. And then, just watch these due dates. Like you can see at the end of chapter 1, there's some stuff due on June 30th. So make sure you're progressing on those dates, both for Canvas and for the XYZ homework, that you're progressing properly and moving along. So what I will do here is I'll go ahead and double check if there's any more questions over here for me. Nope, nothing new. So I'm going to go ahead and close down the YouTube stream, but I will stick around in Zoom until everyone leaves. So if you want to stick around and ask me some questions, or you want to talk to me or anything like that, I'll be in Zoom. Just come ask me some questions, right? So that's totally up to you. So make sure what you want to do today, make sure you get your homework set up. And when you get a chance, go to the tutoring center, the bookstore, and get your permanent license. The link for YouTube is in the class meetings page of the introductory module. So it's right here under class meetings in Canvas. Right. So go into the class meetings and you'll see that link. So get your homework set up, start working through the homework, and try to get that stuff set. Try to get yourself all prepared and start working. Like this is one where you're going to want to start working through the review. Remember, I won't have time to cover everything in class. I'll cover some stuff that I think is more confusing to students, but a lot of this you're going to be watching videos in here and figuring out what you need, and then trying to progress and staying current with all the material. So thank you. You're free to go if you want. And I will see you 2 days from now on Thursday. We will meet again, and just try to be ready for that. Anyone who wants to stick around in Zoom and ask me questions, you're